FreeThinkers Fireside, where we put the human and humanist one cozy chat at a time. My name is Helen, also known as Hell's Bell. So apparently it's nonprofit week on my show. So today I have not only a nonprofit, but an amazing human being and someone I consider a friend. So let's say hi to Cynthia McDonald. Hi, Cynthia.
Hey, Ellen, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Yay! I'm so glad you're
Yay.
here.
Yay. Me too. I'm very happy to be here. I know that we had to reschedule because of me being sick, but
Damn
thank
you.
goodness that's not. Yeah, but thank God that's no. Oh, thank not God that's not the case right now.
Your immune system.
Yeah, let's thank my CD4 count. Yay!
Something to get excited about.
It really is.
So, why don't you tell the people who you are, what do you do, and a little bit about you and that shit. So do that.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Cynthia McDonald. I also go by Cam on the interwebs. I am by trade a social worker, and by not trade, and I guess you can call me a secular activist and humanist. I am the lead affiliate for the Black Non-Believers of Chi-Town. And I also do a little bit of, producing for the ACA, specifically for the nonprofits. Apparently, we've been on this platform previously. Matter of fact, Helen is one of our hosts. Hey, Helen, how you doing? Yay!
Hi.
Yes. Yeah, and also I sometimes jump in from time to time and show up for Women Atheists Unload on Skeptic Haven, and also usually we try to do one once a month, a show called 30 and 60 on Skeptic Haven too that I do with Ember. And that is a show that we just talk about all the crazy news that's happening in our world today, and we try to figure things out without going completely crazy. So that means that wine is on deck when we are actually delivering the news, but don't tell nobody. That's our little secret, okay?
Well, now it's out.
Oh well. Anywho,
right.
so that's the thing, and sometimes I do a little public speaking here and there where I talk about social and economic justice for those who descend from chattel slavery, and yeah. Oh, and I also work with Freedom from Religion Foundation through their Godless Gospel Project with Dan Barker. And yeah, where we sing gospel like sounding music without the problematic lyrics.
That's cool. I have yet to hear a godless gospel performance, so I'll probably have to put that on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that far. Just go to YouTube and just type in godless gospel. We pop up, be like, bam, all up in your face and whatnot, and then and you just sing us a singing. In yes.
Awesome. All right. So, why did you want to talk about this particular topic on my show? I'm very curious.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm old, Helen, you're gonna have to remind me of exactly what the hell I'm supposed to be talking about today.
Oh. Okay. Well, how to be a humanist was what you wanted to talk about.
How to humanist, yes.
How to humanist.
How to humanist, yeah. Well, I guess I wanted to talk about that because I think that a lot of times people who live secular are often asked the question, where do you get your morals from? And we say the same things. Well, we get our morals through wanting to see humans excel, wanting to have well-being, wanting to live in a society without anarchy and chaos. And we also will make sure that we are obeying the laws that Caesar has put out for us to obey. And and then also too, like especially like taking it one step further, with humanism, when then it's a question of, okay, well, if you live your life secularly, that means you live your life without God. Does that also mean that you are only to self? And when you are a humanist, you're not. You are also concerned about the well-being of others that are around you. So oftentimes you will see people who call themselves humanists volunteer. They will add themselves to different causes that that is supposed to be for the betterment of society. And I think that it's it's contingent on us who call ourselves humanists to be able to really explain what that is, because at this particular moment in time it doesn't necessarily seem that we're always able to get the word out the way that we ought to. um, and oftentimes people who happen to be on the other side have a lot of misconceptions about us.
So, what do you think are the major misconceptions that people have about us that are humanists?
Well, I think that, like, some people who happen to be religious think that, humanism, when you hear humanism, that's only like for a person who calls himself atheist. And that's
Mhm.
not the case. Humanism, I had a t-shirt. I was going to wear it, but then I got my times mixed up because, the thing says 7 o'clock and I'm thinking 7 Central because I'm Central, but no, it's actually 7 Eastern. So I didn't get a chance to change from earlier, but that's
That's okay.
okay. That's
Because
okay.
when Ethan was here, and he was like, "Oh," he goes, like, I'm like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I thought it wasn't until 7." I'm like, "It is 7."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Unfortunately, you got us like, Midwestern, Chicago and Chicago adjacent people together, and we forget, that, oh yeah, that's an hour ahead. My bad.
right.
But but like but the shirt, basically, talks about, like, the differences between like humanism and misanthro and being a misanthropo. I cannot say that word to save my life.
Misanthropy?
Yeah, misanthropy. Yes, misanthropy. Thank you, Helen.
You're
Sometimes
welcome.
sometimes words don't be wording for me.
Words are
Sometimes
so hard.
they are, sometimes this is so hard to word, word.
It is.
But
It's so hard.
it is, it is. I mean, but like, but like, if you really just look at like the bottom line of, like, just being a humanist is just an advocate or a follower of the principles of humanism. And then what is the principles of humanism? Just relating or supporting the principles of those things. Like, so
Right.
basically wanting to see the betterment of mankind, right?
Mhm.
And my cat just came in and I want to pick her up and show her to people, but last time that I picked her up and put her on the stream, she got very upset with me. So we're not
Okay,
going to do
well,
that.
she's shy. I have a cat in here somewhere. Oh yeah, Bellatrix is behind me on my bed.
No,
So,
okay. Yeah. So just
but
Toons is.
she's cozy right now, so I'm just gonna let her
Yeah.
be.
Well, yeah, she's currently licking a box. I have no idea why. She does very weird things, but those are what cats do. They just do very weird things.
That's their job, is to do weird things
I agree.
and get pets and scritches.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, and if she wants to get pet and things of that nature, she'll
yeah.
she'll come by eventually. But when I put her on camera last time, she just like gave like the most demonic look ever in life.
She was like F this.
Yeah, literally, literally. Yeah, but just going back to the whole thing about about humanism not necessarily just being an atheist thing. Just wanting just to see just the betterment of mankind, of humankind, and participating in the betterment of humankind. is she getting into the box? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm distracted by the cat. Anyway,
It's
any
fine.
person who, wants that can be a humanist. And you can be a Christian and be a humanist. You can be a Muslim and be a humanist. It doesn't really matter. It's just that, I think that like a lot of us who happen to be on this side would just say humanism because we want to show that we are looking to better humankind without necessarily having the moniker of religion like hanging over our
Right.
heads. Yeah. But yeah, and I mean because like I would say as my kid is running back and forth through the hallway.
I know, I hear him. It's fine.
I was about to
He's
say like
having a grand old time.
yeah, I was about to say like Helen, like real life happens at my house, so I pick my battles.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's little monkey butts and cats.
yeah,
I'm fine.
yeah. Cool. Just telling that to the audience too. My bad, y'all. But yeah, I have a 3-year-old. What can I do? But yeah. So I think that if we can actually be more inclusive with this entire umbrella of humanism, right? I look at like the works of Dr. King, who was a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
but I would also argue that he was a humanist.
Mm-hmm.
But there's in the certain cases that you can actually look at a person who may be an atheist and they're not always a humanist. They
Right.
may only just like stand on, I don't believe in a God or gods, and that's it, right? But as
Right.
far as like, seeing or participating in any of those things that would make you like go forward into like bettering mankind, bettering society, making sure that, people have equity, people making sure that people are out of like harm's way, things of that nature, that may not necessarily be something that would be of interest to them.
Right. Right. And it's very weird to me. I get this is just me of being an atheist and not being a humanist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's and I'm not saying like I know they're not mutually exclusive. I know that. But it's just one of those things that like, well, don't you care about other human beings and want them to progress and live the lives that they want to and have rights? Oh no, you don't. Okay, that's strange.
Yeah, like how, like when you listen to, I would say like some of the people who were part of the new atheist movement and hearing what they say about trans people,
Right.
which is like, wait, what?
What? I'm like something's wrong.
Right. Like, hold on. I'm like, hold on. And then like when they get caught out on it, they double and triple down on the mess that they say and again. And I'm like, wait, what?
Right. It is very confusing. Because well, and this is and I under like this is the thing about like being, it's not so much about like rejecting the idea of a god.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of also you're not deconstructing your perspectives, and a lot of our perspectives are wrapped up in, if you come from a religious background, they're wrapped up in that, the messaging that you're told, and and things are supposed to correlate, to a godly way,
Right.
and then, but if you're not sitting there going like, well, why was I told trans people were bad? Why was I told, this type of person is better than this type of person? And this type of person is going to be more moral than this type of person. If you're not doing that, you're kind of at a disservice. And I don't think you're intellectually curious.
Yeah, exactly. And in some cases, especially like when you espouse, I'm a biologist, so I know better, and you obviously
okay.
don't. And you obviously don't.
Okay.
Okay, boomer.
Silly girl guy.
Yeah. That's so like, so I figure that if you you are saying that this is your wheelhouse, and you are saying things that are opposite to what medical science has been espousing, then that just lets me know that you are also intellectually dishonest. For whatever type of I mean, like, for whatever type of like theory that you want to promote, or whatever, or you call yourself, like, one of the persons who will remain nameless, because I would not say his name, was on a podcast and called himself culturally Christian. And I'm thinking to myself, well, is this the reason why you say dumb things about trans people? Because you're culturally Christian? Is this why? Because I would have to ask that question, because a lot of times when it came to bigotry, especially when it came to people from the LGBTQIA plus community, we saw this a lot coming out of Christian churches. So is that your excuse, sir?
No.
Is that your excuse? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any. That's the thing about this certain person
Yeah.
that I'm like, you're a biologist, man.
Right.
like
You're an
and
evolutionary
you're not
biologist.
intellectually curious. Like, you're supposed to be a scientist, where like,
Yeah.
okay, where does the evidence lead?
Right.
What are we actually talking about?
Mm.
And I'm just like, dude. So, but then I think, and then culturally Christian, what does that mean? Like, you don't,
Yeah.
you want to, like, are you going to follow the Christian doctrine but not believe in God? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I'm not a big fan of the Christian doctrine, but at least I can, like, say, like, if you're going to say you're a Christian, say you're a Christian. Like, don't play these like mental gymnastics with yourself. And
Right.
maybe, and also too, that kind of puts like a shitty things onto Christians, because there are plenty of Christians that aren't transphobes. There's people that are queer that are Christian. So it's like, dude, like
That part right there.
missing the point.
You're missing the point. Yeah, I mean, like, so it's interesting. This past week we covered on the nonprofits a pastor that basically said that there is nothing in the Bible that speaks adversely of trans people. And he's right. Mm-hmm. Because the Bible does not specifically say trans. But often you would get Christians who happen to ride that bigot train, that the verse that says that, no man should wear what pertains, to a woman, right? And so then you have to break down, well, what does that scripture mean? And I mean, because like that was a long time a scripture used in churches to make sure that they not only did not serve as clergy, because Paul also said that women are to be silent in church, so they couldn't be clergy. So some women cannot progress in that area,
right?
But you also had churches that would say that women had to come up in here with dresses, they cannot wear pants. I mean, even for a long time when I was growing up, my mom did not buy me pants to wear to church. Like, I'm always was in skirts or dresses, right? And even when I was at Catholic school, what did you wear? A skirt?
I had a liberal Catholic school, so I didn't have a uniform.
Okay. Well, yeah,
so
I was
cool like that. Though you could only wear jeans on. You could only wear jeans on Friday.
Okay, and is that up there with like only eating fish during Lent on Fridays as well?
Yes. So,
cool. All right.
But I get it. Like, there is that thing about you do like the typical fetishized idea of a Catholic schoolgirl,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, well, oh yeah. Well, my school was not that cool. We were not as liberal as my as the
Well.
president said. Yeah, and especially at my all girl Catholic school, like we was not
Oh,
wearing.
we were mixed too.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh, you were co-ed. Oh, right. You had co.
yeah, we were co-ed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, none of that. None of that. Proper young ladies, we had to make sure that our skirts was below the knee or more. Okay. And we could not wear like this hairstyle that I got right now.
Yeah.
Couldn't wear it.
That's
I,
wow.
I would not be able to wear this, and not at all. I remember I had a really good friend at the time who liked to wear those headbands that were kind of wide. They kind of look like the sweatbands that you would wear like when you would work out and stuff like that. And because she liked to wear them, and sometimes she liked to wear some that had flowers on it, she get demerits
How
every
dare
day.
she?
Man, you wear a headband with flowers? What is wrong with you?
I'm just looking at my romper.
Right.
Flowers.
Yeah, you put that on. My goodness.
Oh, it's so
wow.
dumb.
Jeez. I was just like, but even going back to that whole thing about, a man should not wear, what pertains to a woman and vice versa, yada, yada, yada. Can we look at the time period that we're talking about? Everybody wore robes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
and
you're basically wearing a dress. You're wearing a dress. We're just calling it a different name.
Yes. Everybody wore robes.
And I'm sorry, I didn't know clothing had genders. Like,
obvious.
I just thought it was fabric sewn a certain way, but what the fuck do I know?
Right. Obvious. How dare you not
apparently my romper's a girl.
Yeah. So. Totally. Apparently, my bra is a girl. But anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is your underwear.
Yes, and my underwear as well. There you go. Anyway. But everybody wore robes. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you was a dude, if you was a lady, if you was schmatey, don't matter. Everybody wore robes. Okay. Now, this is what I was taught when I was studying to be a minister back in the day. That if a woman came out her crib without a veil on her head, that means she was advertising that she was open for business, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure. Well, maybe she was, and maybe she just wanted to have orgasms, and apparently that's bad.
And get paid for it. I mean, right. I ain't mad. She wanted to have orgasms and get paid for it, and I ain't mad at that. You know what I'm saying? She was exchanging a service, pay the lady. That's all I got to say.
That's right.
Yeah. So so if she did not have that, veil on, that means that she was open for business, right? No veil, a veil, closed down. Shop is closed. We ain't wrong like that, right? So
is it like was it like an open site?
Yeah, like hey.
and then they put the veil back on. It's like closed. We're closed.
Sorry, try again tomorrow. I'll give you a coupon for a discount. Since you met the cutoff right at the end. Sorry about that.
Right.
So hated for you.
I love you.
Thank you. Feelings mutual. Yeah. So basically there was this saying like, hey, if you don't want to liken yourself to a person who opened for business, put on a veil. That apparently that's what that scripture was about. It had nothing to do with whether if you're gonna wear pants or not. Right. But yes, yes, they do.
Yes, they do make more sense. That's why the Scots wear kilts. That's why the Scots wear kilts, because it makes much more sense.
It does. Right. They need that thing to breathe. They need air.
Right.
Down there. It's like whoosh. Yes, there you go.
I don't have things that stick to my like I do up here, but like I don't have things between my legs that stick to my skin when I'm hot.
Right, exactly. So it makes more sense for us to wear cloth in that era.
Yeah.
You did. More so than like, people who happen to have things that hang. It
The
makes
dingly
more
bits.
sense. Yes, yes, yes. Your twigs and berries.
Twigs and berries, exactly.
Yes, your twigs and berries. Your teapot is, sometimes my mom used to call it. Yeah. So it makes more sense for that. So like that scripture has nothing to do with trans people, or even like a person who wants to come out in drag, or any of that. It has nothing to do with that. So even
Right.
Trying to weaponize the Bible to make it say something that it's not saying is basically what that argument is. And
Right.
and even like when you listen to like some of the arguments that are coming out of these people's mouths who got issues with trans people, like it's never like based in anything that is scientific, or they try to use pseudoscience to be on their side. But at the end of the day, the what is it? The what do they call that? The is it the contingency of care? It's a saying that basically says that the majority of medical boards agree that not only is transgenderism is a thing,
Yeah.
there's also a
You were
contingency of
correct.
care, I believe. Yeah, a
Yeah.
contingency of care.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
there is medical science to back up the treatment of it, and it should be medically necessary to treat people who happen to be transgender. So, psych your mind, your booty shine.
Well,
Culturally
I think.
Christian
Well, I mean,
cat.
well, what's really funny, like, and this, it's like, it's sad funny, not funny,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm always like, one, I'm like, why does this bother you? I don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, I'm like, are you worried you're gonna get an erection if you see an attractive trans woman that's gonna break your brain?
Right.
like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't know. Like, it's just all phobia. And like, what if I'm attracted to a trans woman? I'm like, you were attracted to a trans woman, so
Right. And you
yeah.
should
But I
care
think,
about this because
but it goes back to, and this is kind of related to what we were talking about earlier about how atheism doesn't really lend to being skeptical, and doesn't lend to being a humanist necessarily, because
right.
like if you have this idea that one, it comes down to the patriarchy,
Yeah.
like, and this hatred of women.
Yeah.
So
That part.
and like why would you, and it comes down to, why would you want to be a woman?
Yeah.
Why are you giving up your privilege? And then that
Yeah.
threatens their perceptions of themselves, and then it turns into correction and hate and all that shit. And
Yeah.
but
Which
if
leads to the
you're a
dark side.
humanist, you take a
Mm-hmm.
step back and you go, well, this doesn't actually affect me at all.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So
I
you
mean,
should be able
like,
to live your life however you want, as long as you're not
yeah,
hurting anybody. Well, who
right.
gives a flying fuck?
Exactly. Like, like this is not stuff that you should really care about. The only thing that you
Yeah.
should care about is that, that we're treating people fairly and equally with dignity and respect. That's all we should be doing. And if you call yourself a humanist, that's what you do, right? And you work towards that well-being, I mean, like, I would hear even like when people would have like these crazy things to say, and they don't even understand that they're feeding into these phobias, which cause people to do harm to people who happen to identify a certain way, and I mean, like, and even like some people like, well, why are you even bringing up this issue? You're not trans. I said, I don't have to be. I don't have to be.
No.
I mean, I don't have to be a trans person in order for me to be empathetic to trans people, and don't want any hurt, harm, or danger to come to trans people because of bigotry, because of, all the other isms that happen because of, the patriarchy that happens to be in our culture. I mean, like, you should want people not to be harmed. You should want that.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's not that hard, guys.
No,
It's not that hard.
it's not.
Well, and this, like, my motto is like, I don't know. It's like I'm a woman, so like I'm in a marginalized group, but just having a vagina, but because I've been made to feel less than,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want other people to feel that way.
Yeah, no,
It's basic empathy. I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't want you to feel like you are not a human being and not a person to value. I don't want you to ever have that feeling. And I'm going to
yes,
work so that people won't make you feel that way.
exactly. Not
Yeah.
only am I a possessor of a vagina, I am also Black.
Right.
So I understand how either being Black or being a woman or both makes how other people make you feel less than. And it
Right.
sucks. It
Yeah,
absolutely
it does
sucks.
suck. It's not a good time. I
No,
don't
it's
recommend
not.
it.
It's not. Like I just think about like how like before you open your mouth to say anything, you're already judged. Already.
Right.
You know?
And yeah, and you're kind of like, well, I mean, I've had, you've been when you're being mansplained to,
Yeah.
and because someone that owns a penis, and hi, buddy, how are you?
Say hi.
Hi, honey.
The only thing they see is the top of your head now, baby.
Yeah. So, hi, handsome.
Yeah. You want to sit with mommy for a while? Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay.
good. Okay.
Hi, buddy boy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I'm hopefully, and then if a child shows up, people are
Yeah.
like, you people,
Yeah. I
those are
mean,
new cats.
yeah. Like, I mean, anytime that I'm on, I warn people like, listen, if I'm gonna be invited to a stream, expect a child to show up.
I don't care.
Right. Expect a pet to show up. Expect a dog or a cat to
He's
show up.
adorable, so
Yeah.
I will just look at the adorableness.
Yes, you see my
Aw.
eye. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You see mommy's reflection in her eyes. Is that what it is? You see that right there? You see mommy's glasses in the camera? Isn't that cool? In technology nice?
Yeah.
He's 3
Yeah.
now?
Yep, he'll be 4
He's
in June.
Oh, wow.
Mhm. Yeah, just
Handsome
remember
man.
when I first got him, he was a whole baby.
I know.
Yeah.
Nice growing up fat.
That's
Oh my god, I didn't real wow, how long have we been friends?
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I remember you
Exactly.
making bottles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Had to leave nonprofits are like, oh, excuse me, I gotta get the bottle
I had to
out
go
of
get
the
the
I gotta feed the child. I'll talk to y'all later.
So now I gotta remember not to swear. Anyway, like
He can
my
hear you. It's like because you're coming through my headphones, so he can hear you.
okay. It's just very interesting because when you have that perspective that other people have feelings and they have no, I was talking about mansplaining. So let me bring it back to that.
Yes, you were talking about
Like so,
mansplaining.
like you have somebody mansplain to you because they just automatically assume that because you are a woman that
Mhm.
you're not as intelligent or you
Mhm.
don't understand certain things, and I'm just like, why are you talking to me like I'm stupid? Like if I don't know something, I'll be like, can you explain it to me? But don't explain it to me like I'm not going to understand like basic concepts.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
like don't do that.
right. Just don't do that. Don't automatically assume that just because I happen to be a woman or Black or both or what have you, that you have to dumb down stuff because I'm not going to get the concept. Now I have no problem telling you to explain it to me like I'm 5, depending on what we're discussing. Are you having fun scratching on camera?
He's
having
watching
fun?
himself.
You having fun? Okay, that's cool. Hey, whatever it is, whatever's clever. Like I said, I'll take my bottle.
He's a 3-year-old. Like
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
whatever makes him happy.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, just let it happen. Just let it happen. The only thing I just won't let him do is just turn stuff off. But yeah, I remember I was watching the movie Hidden Figures. I know this movie came out in 2016. I'm finally getting around to
I have
seeing
not
it,
seen
right?
that movie yet.
It is a good movie.
Yeah.
Everybody, please watch Hidden Figures. And
It's on Disney Plus, right?
It was on Disney Plus. It's no longer on
Okay.
there.
Okay.
I ended up watching on Amazon Prime. You know,
Okay, I do have Amazon Prime, so
right. So that's why
because
I watched.
I'm trying to get Bezos his third yacht.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right.
I want
Yeah,
him to have his penis rockets. I want him to
yeah,
have his penis
exactly.
rockets and go
Yeah,
go to
right.
Mars.
Yeah, and stay there.
Right.
And take Elon with you and the orange guy in office. Take all
Yeah.
them people.
There's so many people that can
Yeah,
just go.
yeah, they
Like,
really can. They
take
really
Andrew
can.
Tate. I got a whole list of people.
Okay, thank you for fluffing my hair. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, you can stop now. Okay, you can stop now. Okay, anywho, but yeah, Hidden Figures. So I know you. Yeah, I know you want to touch mommy's hair. I got you. But yeah, you know, so basically, you know, Hidden Figures is about these black women who worked in NASA who basically helped John Glenn to get to the moon. They
Right.
helped them, you know, and they did it by, you know, working out these very complicated calculations. And before they actually got their, you know, whole IBM system in there to help with the those complex complications,
Yeah.
computations rather,
Yeah.
they would call a person a computer. And so one of the computers they had was a real person named Katherine Johnson. And when she first got to the area where like they were working out the computations for calculating John Glenn's flight, the first time that she came in with all these papers and things of that nature, somebody said, "Oh no, we already took out the trash," and she's like, "I'm not the cleaning lady."
Right.
They're, you know, they automatically, but of course this is the
Right.
60s, right? So, you know, there was always going to be like some prejudgments against her just because she's a black woman.
Right.
And as much as we think that we have come so far, and you know, laws have been passed, people have marched, you know, people have sat where, you know, where the signing has been taking place on about, you know, on basically like, you know, how we're supposed to be inclusive to all people, especially who have been historically marginalized. We still unfortunately have implicit biases that actually precede us as human beings, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, and a part of humanism also says that, hey, you know, because you may belong to a certain in group, that you may have implicit biases to an out group. You may need to check those implicit biases, you know, and part of the reason why you should check it is because if you can empathize as much as possible, you realize that there's implicit biases that people would possess about you because you happen to be a woman, because you happen to be African American, because you happen to be of a non-Christian religion or whatever, or because you happen to even be atheist, right? You are really fascinated with my hair, aren't you? Do you want me to get you some hair?
Yeah. No, I just want to play with yours.
All right, I just want to play with yours, right? And I'm just like, yeah, can we again? Oh, okay, yeah, I love you too. I love you too. Yes,
but,
yes. Wow.
Well, like
but yeah,
the conversation. Like that conversation we had like a year ago, because I didn't understand, because I work with people of color all the time, and I didn't understand like older white people making assumptions about, you know, the people of color that work for our company. And you said, yeah, it's like benevolent racism, like they're not explicitly racist, but they think that, you know, people of color are supposed to be in service to them,
right?
You know? And I was like, wow, that's gross, because like I never considered it that way, because I was just like, why are these white people treating my caregivers like servants? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, there was this thing, Helen, called slavery, and
that thing.
yeah, and part of okay.
Mama, you gotta get your hair cut.
I gotta get my hair cut. Okay. Okay, so I gotta put my head down so you can. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So coming with that whole, you know, institution that was like almost 300 years old in the United States, comes this idea that, you know, the people who were like the laborers who were servile to mostly white people are supposed to continuously be in those roles. You know,
Right.
Another really good movie to watch is The Help. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's a really
I
good
did
movie.
see that movie, and I read the book.
Yeah. I need to read the book, but yes, you know, and it was just so interesting just to see like this dynamic between like, you know, the white employer and the, you know, and the maids that happened to work at that time, and how they really thought that, oh no, this is people's their lot. Okay. Yeah, I know. He is really performing for all of you all right now. I just want to let you know this is the most that this child has touched me all day long since I picked him up from school, even before I took him to school. So,
Miss Mom.
Yeah, I'm putting you on blast right now, but that's okay. But he performed. But yeah, it was so interesting. Like, you know, like when the woman was saying that, oh, I thought that a lot of people would leave, you know, would have people leave their maids to the next generation after they die. And you're like, no, honey, you don't leave people to other people when you die.
What? That's a lot of responsibility.
You don't do that. Like, you leave them, I can see a house, I can see money,
I can see a house.
You know, I can see
money, property.
Yeah.
I can see jewelry.
Yeah.
I wanted from my father. There was a painting that hung in my parents' house since 1982. And it was the only thing I wanted when my father passed. That's what I inherited. but it's.
Now you're a podcaster. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So,
like,
but it's just so weird. Like, I'm going to leave a person.
Yeah. And like, that's something that we do every day. Like, oh yeah, that's doesn't everybody do that? Leave him perfect. No, bitch. They don't. Absolutely not. Right. You tell them, baby. Yeah. You don't.
No, absolutely not.
Right. I was like, yeah, like that's a practice that they used to do in slavery.
You're at a will meeting, and the lawyer goes, by the way, you get a whole person.
Right. Like, wait, what? Like, right, I get a huh? And then all of a sudden you're like, what you talking about, Willis? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. You know, like, oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. And humanism is basically just like, don't do that. People should be equal. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that is just let me know that, like, even though, you know, a lot of them will call themselves good Christian people. You know, good Christian people that, you know, were doing charity work. Remember, they was like, you know, doing charity funds and all this other different things and whatnot. Yet, you know, they still found it that they're still supposed to treat people and other people because that was the way of things.
Right.
You know, honey. You know, the only thing that we've seen is the top of your head right now. Okay. Okay. Very good. Yes. Anywho.
Well, and that's like, for example, because I'm, like, I can't help but think of like Tahani from The Good Place, where she does all this charitable work, but it's self-motivated. It's on a selfish level. Like, look at me, look how benevolent I'm being, look how kind I'm being to, you know, other people. But really, like, the motivation is like, well, I can't be, you know, this type of person, you know, I can't be self-serving because I'm, you know, I'm doing the right thing. And it's just like, yeah, but your motivations are fucked up.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
It's like, yeah,
exactly.
It's like, what?
Right.
Yeah. So, like, I don't care. Like, if you start making my, like if you're, you know, someone that looks like me, and you're like, you're part of a charity, like making money for like Black Lives Matter, but you're making it about you, and you're not asking the people that are actually affected by things, you know, how to help. I'm like, you're just doing this because, one, you're insecure about something, and two, you're also like, you're letting your bigotry drive you, not the actual issue.
Right. Yeah, it's
benevolent racism.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it's kind of like I love. Yeah, it is. It's whatever you just said it was.
Now?
Yes, it's brown. Yes, you're right. But you know,
Not
I
blue.
you know, I love watching movies, and especially like movies that, you know, were reflexive of, you know, time periods that I don't know anything about, like from firsthand experience, but I've heard stories from my parents, you know, because my father grew up in the South, and he definitely grew up in, you know, Jim Crow, seeing the color fountain versus the white fountains, color waiting rooms versus the white waiting rooms, and you know, and like I'm hearing these stories, and that's just so wild to me, right? And you know, and then like to see maybe on film, like, you know, a lot of the stuff that was told to me and corroborated was just like, wow, that's crazy. And you know, I remember like one of my favorite movies is The Color Purple. Not the one that came out a few years ago, the one from 1986.
I saw the original, but it's been a long time. I think I was like in high school.
Yeah,
when I saw it. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
A long time ago, right? It came out in the 80s, you know. But yeah, that's the Steven Spielberg.
I remember Oprah was really good in it.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yes, you told Harpo to beat me, indeed, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. Like we usually tell, like, are you ready to leave now? No. Okay.
No. Okay.
Well, you know, we usually tell Black folk, if you're not able to quote at least two iconic lines from The Color Purple, we have to take your black card. It's
okay.
written.
All right.
It's unwrittenly written. Okay.
But
It's
an unofficial rule.
Right. It's an official rule. So, you know, there's this one character named Miss Minnie that's in the movie, and she is the mayor's wife, and she likens herself to always do all these charitable works, especially for the colored children of Tennessee, where they grew up, and the colored children need this. The colored children need candy for Christmas. They need coats because it's gonna get cold in Tennessee. Very, you know what I'm saying. The colored children, just the colored children. Gotta help the colored children, right? But you know, but but it was like one point where, you know, she was learning how to drive, and she was a horrible driver, and so Oprah Winfrey's character, Miss Sophia, was teaching her, and so she said, "I'm going to drive you home for Christmas. And you'll get to stay with your family all day." Well, unfortunately, Miss Minnie could not get her car out of reverse. Okay. And so she was like backing it up and pushing it forward and backing it up and pushing it forward and all this other stuff. Baby, you want your hold on just 1 second. You want your here you go, honey. Take this in here. Go ahead and take this into the living room and go and tell your aunties to open it up for you, okay? Okay. Yeah, go ahead and take that.
My alphabet blankie.
You want your alphabet blankie too? You sure can have your alphabet blankie. Yes, and he started singing the alphabet song when he did it, because that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Here, give this to Nana. And give this to Nana, okay? Good. Here, give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. My good boy. Okay.
He's so fucking cute. You're cute.
Yes.
Like I'm like, I don't want babies, but I love other people's children.
I do too. That was the point.
I'm a great Auntie Helen. I'm a great Auntie Helen.
I was good at that too, but
Yeah, well, circumstances. But you're also an awesome mom. So
thanks. I'm really good at getting rid of the kids too. Okay. Like bye. But anyway, but then like after she told her that she could stay all day, she told her, no, you got to try. You basically have to drive me home because I can't get this car out of reverse, and the other people that you want to put in the car, I don't know them, and remember, you are still my maid. Even though, like, I got to think about the colored children, you are still my maid.
Right.
Act accordingly, And
act accordingly?
Basically that's what she was implying. Like, listen, you are my maid. You belong to me. Whatever it is that I deem necessary for you to do, that's what you do. And you should not only know your station, you should appreciate having a job in the first place.
and I do think, like, and I told you this, that like deconstructing my implicit bias, like, you like, and I don't think there's an understanding the nuance of any sort of bigotry somebody might have, is that you may not want someone to be like harmed, but you might think that they should have a certain position within society and their relationship to you, like, and it's just like, why?
Yeah, I mean, because
why? Because like I tell you, I'm better than you because I have less melanin. Like that, and our hair texture is different, so obviously I'm better, Cynthia.
Obviously. My bad. I should have known these things.
Because if you think about it for 2 seconds, it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's insane. Like, but unfortunately, because even though, like, we throw this term humanist out,
right?
Especially, like, when you call yourself a secular person, that does not necessarily mean you follow the tenets and the principles of humanism. And part of that is, realizing that these roles that have been created by other human beings, especially when it comes to class and caste, are completely arbitrary. They are not based on anything of substance. They basically were created on how that capitalist felt that day. Okay.
Right.
And to keep that capitalist in their position, that's why we have to have this system, right? And so this means that we're going to categorize people in certain areas, and we're going to base it off of skin color. We're going to base it off of nationality. We're going to base it off of, sex. We're going to base it off of all these different things that ain't got shit to do with shit, just because we said,
right.
And it takes a leap of reason to come out of that, because that's not how we are taught to be. Humanism in of itself is not in of itself a natural thing in humans.
Right.
It's not, because and I mean, like, I got, like, one of my friends who is a secular Jew, who also did philosophy, and we always are debating about this nature versus nurture thing, like what is innate and what is taught, right? And sometimes it's difficult to be able to kind of figure out, which is which, because we've been living with both so long. But regardless,
try talking to a psychologist about that.
Yeah.
Like, you're a social worker,
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not trying to break my brain today, or yours, or anybody's, right? I just teach it as simple as possible. But even if, like, we want to have these, philosophical debates on what that is, at the end of the day, it still is contingent on us to see and to see what we do as human beings, and realize, what is harmful and what is not. And part of making sure that we are not harmful is checking our implicit biases, and also some of the behaviors that we have a tendency to put ourselves in that could be harmful to another.
Right.
And I know, like, Mandisa, shout out to Mandisa from Black Non-Believers. Woohoo! She is a big fan of this group called Moonchild, and I believe that they're like an alternative R&B group that and they are mostly white.
All I think when someone says Moonchild is a never-ending story, because that's Sebastian's mom's name.
Yes,
that's where my brain goes. Anyway,
no, it's really okay, because now I'm thinking of the song, and I almost sang it on air, and I don't know if you monetized or not yet, so I'm not even going to
monetize yet. So
okay, well, I ain't even going to do it to you, because I don't want you to get a copyright strike. Regardless,
okay, thank you.
No problem. But but one of the things that they oftentimes talk about is, like, when we're having this conversation about what is an ally, how can people from, majority groups be allies to marginalized groups? And, one of the things that they say is spend your privilege. Spend your privilege.
Right.
And part of spending your privilege is realizing that you're privileged in the first place and why.
Right. And and this is the thing I don't like, people, start pearl clutching, when they say like, well, I don't have privilege. And it's like, we're not talking about capitalism, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're talking about. like we're all victims of capitalism.
Yes, we are.
All of us are. But there's
Yes.
degrees of that depending on, as you said, what the capitalists decided that day. I'm like, well, it's going to be women. Oh, it's going to be queer people. It's going to be, migrants at the border. It's going to be Black people. It's going to, I mean, like my grandma was prejudiced against my mom because she's French and wasn't from the United States, which is so funny because my grandfather's from Albania and was a Muslim. So I just find it's very funny, like how people they're very like choosy woozy with their what the things they're going to be prejudiced about.
Well, shout out to Cindy Plaza, who's also one of our resident nonprofits, originally from France, living in Belgium, and I sometimes like make fun of her behind her back because she's French and they always like get rid of their constitutions, and that's the problem with the French, and that's why we're bigoted towards them.
That's right.
They're always revoluting. They're always revoluting. Every 2 seconds.
Right. Like they're like, let's get out the guillotines right now.
Right now. We do not let this constitution. Get out the guillotine. Right. So, yes. Right. Yeah, I'll be like, what constitution you guys are on? The 6th or 7th? We don't know, And I thought she's like, let's get rid of it.
Can't you just be like us and never change it? And then
be like us.
It's so hard.
Right. Yes, it is extremely hard to change the United States Constitution. It is not easy to add an amendment. We hadn't had, I think that, like, when was the last time that we had an amendment added? Like in the 80s, 90s, something like that. It's been a minute.
I'm gonna ask the Google.
Yeah, right? Ask the Oracle. Google.
I'm gonna ask the all-knowing God Google.
Yes. Blessed be their name.
I like that the first thing. What was the Constitution written? Last amendment. Amendment.
Yes.
Well, okay. Amend.
I was still trying to get the spelling of amendment.
What was the last amendment to the Constitution added? Yes. Jesus Christ.
Probably when Jesus died and was buried on Thursday.
He died. 1992.
There you go. Yes.
It was the 27th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for, commonly known as the Congressional Compensation Act of 1789, the 27th Amendment was actually the second of 12 amendments proposed by Congress in 1789. So this was proposed in 1789. It wasn't amendment until 92.
Just got it ratified. Just got it ratified in 1992. Wow, we are so progressive. We move fast in this country, y'all. You got to keep up.
Lightning fast.
Lightning fast. We call us the Flash.
Well, I make more. I'm the breadwinner in my house now, so I won capitalism and feminism. I won. Because we're progressive.
Right. Abby. Abby. Yeah. I mean, and this is kind of even funny. Like, I remember when, because Cindy actually was the guest that was on Meet the ACA Tuesday on the ACA Discord, and we were actually talking specifically about that. Like, is it, even though like I'm pro-commerce, I'm pro-business, but I am against I'm against business and capitalism running amok. Like, I'm also pro-regulation, right? So if I want, and I also want a very strong social center, you know.
Right.
So I was trying to think to myself, am I pro capitalism too, or am I pro something else that may have like some elements that are attached to capitalism, like commerce and business and entrepreneurship. So I don't know. I'm still wrestling with that myself.
I
But
think that
yeah, go ahead.
no, it's just that because capitalism, it's like money is just this arbitrary concept that we've kind of agreed,
Mhm.
has value for goods and services. Like,
Right.
that like we've agreed that money represents something. But again, it's just paper and plastic. It doesn't really and numbers. Like it's not
Yeah.
real. It doesn't say anything about your value as a person.
No, it doesn't.
It just says that like, hey, you do this job and you make this money and you can afford this, and and it's just like, okay. But I do think that there can be a balance. Like I'm this is me. I think that like, yeah, it's like exceptionally average is a predatory capitalism. I think
Right.
it's a problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
And I think also too, like I think that like this is my kind of feeling. I think everybody should have access to equal education and
Hmm.
healthcare.
Yeah.
And social programs that like job training, things like that. I think that we can put our tax money into that, so everybody gets that upward mobility
Hmm.
that they should have. The rest, like, I don't want the government making my shoes. Like if somebody starts a business and
Yeah.
they make these really great shoes and they're able to make money, I don't really have a problem with that. But the
Yeah.
problem is that like you get like conglomerates and corporations that like eat up all the smaller businesses that make the shoes that person can't compete with, like a Reebok or a Nike,
Right.
and
Exactly.
that's the problem.
That is, yeah, exactly. Corporations getting too big. I mean, that's one of the things that Teddy Roosevelt like rallied against, and that's why we
Yep.
had antitrust established in the in federal regulations and government to keep corporations from being able to eat up the little guy. But as we have deregulated, we're finding ourselves back at the Gilded Age again. And that was a problem, and we're finding ourselves like in a case where we could be experiencing this massive bubble that's going to bust on us.
First.
And yeah, and it's going to basically be like the Great Depression all over again in the 1930s. I mean, who knows? But
Well, it's between 36 and 62% that we're going to be in a recession. So there's something to think about. So yay. But that leads back to the humanist part, because it leads back to, is capital the value you're applying to a person? Like,
mhm,
not just, gender, race, or sex, or, disability or lack thereof. Like, what value are you applying to human
right,
beings? And if you're applying the value to, what kind of car or house you have, then it's like, well, I can't take that with me. Like, it doesn't, my house, like, I love my new house. And
mhm.
I tell my house every day, I'm like, I love you, house. But at the same time, but my house is nothing about the type of person I am. It said zero, because I could still love my house and be a shit person.
Yeah, yeah. I know people like that. We all
Yeah.
do. We all do.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
know. Yeah. I
yeah. I
talk to them
mean,
frequently for my
yeah.
job.
See, there you go. Right. I mean, like I said, like I look at. I remember, like my ex and I used to go back and forth all the time, because he was definitely a capitalist and I was definitely a social democrat.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, he would call me his favorite communist, and I bleed pink. You know, and I was like, that just means I'm more feminine. Y'all not the red pill people that y'all want women to be, but that's not
Oh,
here nor there.
I love the
That's
red
not
pill
here.
people.
Yeah. Oh,
They're sad straight. I'll have to tell you a story later, but go ahead.
yes, please do. Yeah, but he would get upset with me because I did not believe in I have to have the biggest house. I have to have the most expensive car. Like, I don't want a Bugatti. I just want my Explorer not to break down. And I like my Explorer just the way I like my
I
Explorer.
love my hoopty.
Yeah, I do. Like that bad boy is still trucking 20
My
years later.
Latoya's got over 230,000 miles on her, and she's
Mm.
still going. And she
See,
ain't pretty, but
right?
she's trucking it. She's working, and I'm just
That's
like, go
right.
girl, get me to
Right.
work.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like, it's amazing what a nice
I paid $400 for
seller.
that car.
See, I ain't mad at you. I pay a little bit more for my Explorer, but
Right.
I mean, but like,
I have never had a car payment, and I'm not starting now. That's the
you
way I'm
know,
looking at it.
I'm not even mad at that because for a long
Yeah,
time that was me. Like I just bought my cars cash, and as long as
yeah,
it got me from point A to point B, that's all I really cared about. I mean, like, and like, would you want like something like a nice home that's? But yeah, I say yeah, but I just want it to be
yeah.
comfortable, affordable, and room enough to accommodate the people who I need to take care of. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
like having like this like some of these parsonages like that Kenneth Copeland has. I mean, like, who needs that? Who needs that? Seriously, you sitting in a $17 million property that is completely tax free just because you named it a parsonage under your ministry. Wow.
Which is in,
That's
and
the
then all of
problem.
us are over here going, why are we not taxing?
Right.
Or why, like, there has to be like a tax law, at least, like, if you're gonna do, if you're a 501c3 or whatever,
Mhm.
that there's certain things that you cannot buy. Like, you
Yeah.
can't buy property for yourself,
I mean, like, or
beyond like a certain amount of money. Like,
yeah, like
except
you.
like if you're getting church funds, like you get a house and like, let's say you're a pastor, and you have 3 kids and your wife, like, we'll make you comfortable because
Right.
you're doing work with the church, but you don't get to buy $17 million worth of property and call it a
Yeah.
parsonage. Like, what the
Right.
fuck, man?
You don't get to drive around
We can
in a
have
Rolls.
both.
Right. You don't get a chance to drive around in a Rolls Royce Phantom. Like, no.
You
You gonna
don't get
get this.
your own jet because people
Right.
have demons.
Like, listen, you gonna fly commercial, okay?
Just like the rest
And
of us.
right, you gonna be in the tubes of the
You
demons.
don't even jet coach.
Right. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna fly commercial for real. We're gonna get you the best, cheapest flight that will not explode on you on Priceline.com. Quit playing.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, hey, we might pay for TSA pre-check. Just might.
That's right. Like,
And you're
but
gonna
that's
drive around
like,
in this Toyota Corolla. That's what you're gonna do. And be happy.
like, it was really funny because I was listening to a podcast this morning, and I'd be very curious if Jesus was alive today, and looking around at all the prosperity gospel people and being like, this isn't what I said.
But they would swear up to
like this is
heaven.
not what I said.
No, but I've sat under people like this before, and they would
Yeah.
swear up and down that the Gospels was a prosperity gospel. They would even equivocate that when Jesus rode in on an ass into Jerusalem, that was the preferred transportation of a king. So
And
even
there's historical context where for this exactly? Question mark. Then get yourself an ass. Okay. Like, okay, Kevin Copeland, get yourself an ass. Get yourself a dog. Like, if that is your,
yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. If that was, because I've heard some of these prosperity doctor people say this, right? That this like the ass was actually the preferred. That was like the transportation of royalty. I'm like, but anyway, historical context, like where.
well, that again, like we're looking at this from a broader context of like,
Sure.
even in the past, it's just like, even though the Bible's like a made up history, like there's
Yeah.
some historical stuff in there. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say, I'm not poo-pooing on it.
Mm.
Well, I poop on the Bible a lot, but for different reasons. But
Fair.
that being said,
Mhm.
if we're looking at this from a humanist perspective, and also if you claim that you love Jesus and Jesus is the best things, he's your Lord and Savior, and and you you have crosses in your home and biblical, and you're putting scripture verses on your baby's walls and painting and shit. That's so weird, by the way. Anyway,
It
but
totally is.
you can't do that and say that you are for the love of God and then cast, shit ideas onto other people and then elevate yourself. I lost my shit doing my ACA TikTok on Tuesday because someone was saying terrible things about women. I was explaining about the abortion bans, and women are like bleeding out in parking lots, because they can't get access to care. And then
Right.
he goes, well, did they want their babies? I'm like, it doesn't really fucking matter. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter if they wanted the pregnancy
and then
or
he's
not.
trying to say that God teaches him to love, and I'm like, listen, these are two contradictory things. That is not love.
No, it's not.
For your fellow human beings.
It really isn't. Like, if that was the case, sir, if you were a person who is taught to love, because according to the Bible, that is the greatest commandment of all, is to love
Right.
one another as they will love yourself. That's what Jesus did before he was out of here. Then you should want human beings to be able to have access to healthcare, because then they will be able to live longer, and they would not have to be in parking lots bleeding out because they can't get access to care.
Right.
You should want that. You really should want that.
You want that. And
yeah.
So, and I think that's the thing, that they have these, like, their version of love is twisted, and that's the thing that's scary, because if you are saying you have love for your fellow humans, that love has to extend to things that you might not do, but you might be, anti-choice. I don't really care, but at the same time, you can, okay, what are you going to do so that thing doesn't happen in a way that is actually helping? Right. And then if there's harm coming to people, you need to adjust.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And that goes back to really asking yourself those questions. If you're calling yourself a humanist, or you espouse to humanist principles, what in me specifically, in the way that I think and behave, is antithetical to these principles?
Right.
And possibly person who calls yourself Christian, maybe some of your belief systems are antithetical to the well-being of humankind. Have you thought about that? Because, like, right. I don't. Right. Thank you, Ra. He told you. He
knows. Right.
Yeah. I mean, like,
he's 3 and he knows.
He knows. He knows. Matter of fact, it was so funny. Like, I got a delivery today, and it was like super heavy. And then he ran up to me. He said, "I'll help you." And I said, "Oh, baby, it's like really heavy," but he didn't care. I'm gonna help you anyway. Aww. So he grabbed one side of it and pretend like he was like helping me carry it. Aww, and I was like, "Oh, so thank you so, honey. Thank you so much. You get a kiss. And it's kind of funny because I didn't really teach him that. I think those are those are parts of him.
But you also model it.
Yeah,
Like
exactly, right.
you don't need to explicitly tell your child is that if they see you like helping a
Mhm.
family member and they see you smile, they're like, oh, that's a good,
That's a good
and
thing.
they make that
Yeah.
you don't have to like sit there and be like, this is why we do this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like
Like
I'm
we'll
not sitting him
philosophize
down and like,
about
let me
altruism
teach
later.
you. Right. Like, let me teach you how to hold the end of the box to help somebody else carry something.
Yeah,
Like, no,
yeah.
like, yeah, you model the behavior. That, they are just mimicking what they see from you, and they realize that, it's good to help people. It makes you feel good to help people,
Right.
I mean, like, I was asked, why did you get into social work? I said, because I wanted to help people. And I was not trying to be cliche. I was not trying to toot my own horn. I was not trying to make myself bigger than what I really am. That was the sincerest answer. I want to help people. And because, like, if I tout myself as a humanist, then, part of that is being helpful to others, you know, and I want to be able to participate in that as much as possible, because helping people actually makes me feel good. It does. I mean,
Right.
like, so yes, I get some value out of it. Like, there is, like,
As Kelly says, I'm a selfish altruist.
indeed, yes. Shout out
Yeah,
to Kelly.
I
I know,
am, because if I'm
nonprofit.
kind to people, they're kind to me, and everybody's happy, and my life is easier. So
Yes.
that's the way I look at it, and
Well,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with
yeah.
being a selfish altruist.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, because I mean, like,
Like, it
I
makes
guess,
me feel good.
yeah, it makes me feel good. Like, even though, like, don't tell Ayn Rand, even though she did that, because she would have like a
Oh, she took Social Security when she.
yeah, she did, but Ayn Rand was very much so, she didn't believe in altruism. She didn't believe it. Yeah.
Oh, did she believe in like an exchange? Like a commodity of exchange for acts of kindness, basically.
Yeah, well, she was like a
Yeah.
staunch capitalist as well. So,
Yeah, she
like,
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, but
But
yeah,
like, keep in mind, like my relationship with Ayn Rand has been a Wikipedia article and played Bioshock. So that is all I know about Ayn Rand.
well,
And like somebody, and then I'll be watching a YouTube video. They're talking about like
yeah,
capitalism or some kind of moral good, and they bring up Ayn Rand, and I'm just like, she just seems like, one, not fun, and two, like, I'm like, so money is the only thing that matters. But she's a fucking hypocrite, because then at the end of her life she took social security, and
yep.
I'm like, aren't you supposed to be a self-made person, and like,
She
all
said,
that
hey,
shit?
I paid into that system.
Oh, okay. What we all do is call fucking taxes.
That's right.
So shut up. So dumb. Oh lordy, like I hate capitalist philosophers. It makes no sense.
That's
Like, what
exactly
are you
what
talking about?
yeah, because, like, well,
I'm
like,
so upset. I'm playing with my hair.
all right, yeah, don't do that. Don't pull out your hair. I mean, I start pulling on my braids, and that's just, and it's not Saturday yet, so there you go.
Yeah. Okay. But it is one of those things. Like, if you're looking at altruism and you're being a humanist, like, they kind of go hand in hand. Like, you're trying to make, in your own way, make things easier for somebody else.
Right.
Like, I try, because regardless, I say this, like, whether I'm a brain in the vat, or or I'm in the Matrix or whatever, I still have to interact with other human beings every day, and I
Right.
still have to be like, I don't want, I know what it's like not to be harmed, and I just don't want that for you. So I'm gonna try to make sure it doesn't happen.
Right. I feel the same way. Like, if part of the driving force for me to help other people, or wanting to help other people, is, I've been harmed and I don't want that for you, then so be it. And that's fine. And
Right.
if I can keep you from, maybe experiencing some of the harms that I did because, I didn't know, or I was in like in a really messed up situation, yada, 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 then that's what I'm going to do. And if that makes me feel like, oh, okay, yes, I was able to assist as much as possible, and I kept somebody out of harm's way, and I did my bit to help society a little bit better. Yay,
Yay.
humanism. It ran today.
My philosophy is, when my friend Laura taught me, is that when I get to the end of my life, I want to look back and I can say I did good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. I want to be like, I did good.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
that's all of it, what all of us can, probably reach for, is that we can look back on our lives and go, you know what, like I had a good run. I did good. I had a good run. And
Yeah.
I think that this idea of I have to be this type of person, and it's a constant competition. And I believe in healthy competition. I believe that if someone, is motivating you to, drive yourself because, it's like a friendly competition and they're, I think that can be a good thing. But it becomes toxic when you say like, this will show that I am better than not only this person, but all the peoples. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like Serena Williams, like badass tennis player.
Right.
Badass. Great.
And she can see walk like nobody's business. Well, she's like, then
Right.
I'm like, oh, she was getting it. I ain't even mad at her.
I know. Like girl, okay.
Do you?
There's probably a talent I have. I can't think of one right now that she wouldn't be able to do. Maybe she can't stick her tongue to her nose. I don't know.
Maybe
because it's gradients. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not, this type of person is better than this type of person. I'm like, we all have talents and we're all flawed and kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay.
Both can be true at the same time.
Yes,
they can. Yes.
But I think like, when you're not even coming from a religious point of view, like you haven't deconstructed, how human beings be. If you're not deconstructing that, then you fall into like, red pill shit or, racist shit or, queer phobia shit, and it's just like, nope, we're all just trying to do our best.
Yeah, we're all on this spinning ball trying to make it to the next day. That's what we're all trying to do, until we enter into the world, until we exit to the world. We're just trying to do the best that we can. And sometimes my best may be 50%, sometimes my best may be 100, sometimes my best may be nothing. Sometimes my best may be I need to take a nap.
Sometimes my best is a whining and orgasm, and that's all. That's it.
I'm even mad at that because sometimes that is my best.
It's your best.
That is like sometimes whine orgasm.
I did not give someone side eye today. That was my best.
Listen, or I drove and did not cuss somebody out and call them
right
out their name.
like there's bare minimums.
Man, the bar gets lower and lower as time goes on. But like, hey, that was my best that day. So I'm okay with it.
Like I'm like, listen, I didn't kill anyone today, so I think I'm doing all right. Bare minimum. But also too, like, I think that also too, like, being a humanist is taking also personal responsibility for your shit. And recognizing that you have biases, you have your own needs and wants, and sometimes that is unethical and not productive for somebody else.
Yeah, antithetical.
Antithetical, thank you.
Antithetical, yes.
I went to college.
Right. I got me a whole degree.
I got a whole degree. I went to college.
I
But when like you're trying to communicate those things to people about like, I have compassion. This has been my new thing. I have compassion for other people. I want other people to, live their best life, and and however it may not look what I would choose, but however it sees fit. But I might not respect you.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can like listen, and some of them I love them. I have compassion for them. I don't want to see anything bad happen to them, but I can't stand them to save my life. You know?
Oh yeah.
And like I said, both all those things can be true at one time. It really is okay. They said, no, that's contradictory. No, they are not.
No, you can, because I think if you also, those of us that are existentialists, recognize that when we try to control somebody's journey, that's about us. And it's not, and also we don't know the future. We don't know if someone that is a complete racist piece of shit suddenly starts helping people out of white supremacy group. It's happened. But if you went back in time and beat this guy up and then, or unalived him or whatever, it's just like, well, now you removed a positive in the world because you don't know what that path is going.
Right.
And that's impossible to predict.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and at the end of the day, we are the sum of our experiences. Yeah. And a lot of times, we may have started in one area of our lives, but, we come to, expand because of, different circumstances, different experiences, and then, gain wisdom from that. And now we're over here. I can definitely say that for myself. Being a person.
Oh yeah, I can definitely say it for myself as well.
Yeah, like raised in Roman Catholic school and also in Episcopal church.
Former Catholic.
Yeah, right. Foreign Catholic, and then being in the charismatic evangelical type of atmosphere, and then
that's a jump.
It is
like that's a jump.
It is. It was strange, but it made sense, but not really. And but I found
mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
The mental gymnastics of belief.
Yeah, well, as our mutual friend Phil calls them, not gymnastics, but mental contortions. I twisted
mental
myself.
Contortionist.
Yes, I twisted myself into that, into that pretzel. But after I started to meet other people and hearing other people's points of view and started to learn more about life and realizing that maybe I think the way that I think is because I'm existing in my own echo chamber. Perhaps I need to make that brave space, make a brave step and get out. You dig? So that's something that took years to do. That's part of my deconstruction that I had to do in order for me to get to here. And I'm still deconstructing because I still realize that there are residue of Christianity thinking that's still in my brain somewhere. Yeah, and I have to be like, "Ooh, where'd that come from, girl? No, get the hell out of my face with that."
I have that slut shaming messaging that I'm constantly
that's one of them.
And queer messaging, that is that I'm constantly having to be like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. Like you're not a bad person because you had you slept with so many people. You're not a bad person because of this. You're not but it's the messaging that in the back of my letting go of God was the easy part. It's the everything
all
else.
The baggage that comes with
because it's in society. Whether it's religion, whether you're religious or not, as we were talking before, you can be an atheist and also a dick.
True. As we know people like that. We talked about them earlier, but I mean,
somebody that's a biologist and I don't like trans people, and I'm like, well, excuse me, one of the four horsemen.
Right, exactly.
Like my left tit. I don't really
care. Like I really should care about this, not. But I mean, but slut shaming is definitely a hard thing for me to do. I mean, even when it comes to being able to embrace my own sexuality as an individual and even in enjoying what that looks like and enjoy exploring what that looks
like. Right. Oh, am I frozen? Or Cynthia frozen? Question.
Houseway.
There you go. You froze for a second.
Oh, okay. I was saying that, like there was this long time. Okay, I'm
It was
still
only
here.
like a few seconds. So you made a statement and then it froze.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Apparently, okay. Everybody else heard it. I just didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, for Helen, I mean, like when we were talking about slut shaming, it was taught a lot of times that women are not supposed to enjoy sex,
Right.
and I'm like, how? Sway, we have parts that feel.
I don't know. This is the thing. Okay, so God doesn't want us to enjoy sex, but let's give them parts where they're really going to enjoy sex. What?
Right.
Like, well,
Then why when you touch certain parts of me, I all of a sudden have my eyes roll back into my head. Why is that the case? And now I'm not supposed to enjoy this. It made me want to do it again and again and again. I mean, like, so there's nothing.
There's an episode of Sex. Have you ever watched Sex Education?
No, I have not.
Okay. There's an episode on. It's a great show. Gillian Anderson's in it. It's so good. But there's this girl. She discovers masturbating. And there's this whole montage of her just masturbating. And it's so funny. And I'm like, I remember that.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's something that, like, unfortunately, we have like such really fucked up ways to think about what we do in society, and some of these different dumb rules that we put on people just because that capitalist felt away that day, or that religious whatever, it felt a certain way and decided to go ahead and throw that out there for you to continuously make yourself go crazy, over and
Thanks,
over
John.
again. Yes. Oh wow. Well, you need to work on that. That's what I'm saying. You need to work on that.
Go to adamandeve.com. So.
Code Glory.
Yeah. But and also too, like, once you realize that, one, like, sex doesn't hurt anybody. It's not supposed to. And if it is, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
But
that part.
And then also too, it's a matter of, like, there's this, I think also too, like, why this leads back to because it leads back to gender politics, it leads back to control, it leads back to, like, again, I'm this type of person, so I'm obviously better than this type of person,
right.
and that can be sex, whether you're straight or queer, because if you fall into these things that say that is I have to display power. That's the problem. And then and then people become objects. They don't actually they're no longer human beings to you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You're just use those for the means of an end. And, we have a word for that. That was called, back in the day, that was called chattel slavery, because, on a person, you are property and you exist at the pleasure of your master. You did.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not where we want to go. That's not where we want to be at. That's not something that we should even be promoting, and which takes us back to
but
humanism.
For some reason, I don't know why we haven't learned this lesson.
It's a hard one to swallow, unfortunately. And like I said, we can always, philosophize nature versus nurture. What is it that is driving us to these different, to be, shitty? Are we shitty by nature? Which would be a great rap name. Right. We're not naughty by nature. We're shitty by nature.
Shitty by nature.
Or, we developed shittiness along the way. Which is it? We don't know. But regardless of how it got here, it's here. And we have to, in order for it to change, we have to recognize it and actually do the things that are necessary in order for it to change.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's just us. There are no parents. But nobody's running the show. It is just us. And,
Just us.
we're a bunch of, evolved monkeys just trying to like get through the day,
Yep.
but if I'm going to get through the day, the way I'm looking at it, I'm like, I want for you to be able to make it through the day with as least conflict as possible.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's the important thing about like being a humanist means like, I want goodness for you because it will make your life easier.
Exactly. Yes. That is the definition that we are going by, people. I want goodness for you because it will make life easy.
Exactly.
We go with that. We can end on that.
I'm gonna get bumper stickers.
Yes. John, hush.
Okay.
Hush, John.
Yeah. So anyway, Cynthia, tell the people where they can find you and anything you have coming up or anything you want to shill. Let the people know.
Sure, I'll shill. So you can check me out on the nonprofits. We are I'm in the rotation. Matter of fact, I should be coming up on next week sometime, so check me out there. Also, we're going to be, since I also mentioned that I'm one of the lead organizing affiliates for Black Nonbelievers, we're going to be doing a live stream on May the 25th, and it's going to be simulcast on the Black Nonbelievers channel and also Secular Haven to do a fundraiser for all the work that we're doing. We're doing a lot of traveling. We're going to have a presence at the Ark Encounter protest. We're going to have a presence at NanoCon, at the Student Secular Alliance.
Joe, the Kentucky atheist, told me I should go. I'm like, I can't go to the Ark Encounter, and he was like, "You need." I'm like, I can't go. I only sunshine.
Right. Yeah. I probably won't be able to, to do, the Ark Encounter, but, Mandy's is going to be there. Some of our other board members and other members are going to be there as well. And, we do a lot of programming throughout the year. We're also participating in the Secular Week of Action as well. So, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. So check out our meetup pages and also blacknonbelievers.org for that. Also, yeah, it's in a doobly-doo, yes. I'm also going to be speaking at this year's American Humanist Association's conference in Chicago at the end of June. I'm going to be speaking on that Saturday, and I will be speaking on the secular case for reparations. Nice. Yes, so check that out. I even wrote a piece for the Freedom from Religion Free Thought Today newsletter. It's still in there. If you just put in secular case for reparations, you'll be able to see it. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. And then at NanoCon, Godless Gospel should be performing. So, we will be there. So like if you're going to be in Nashville around that time period, please, check us out. And then there's also, I'll be speaking at CCon. Black Nonbelievers does a cruise convention every year, and that's going to be towards the end of November. Again, check out the website. It's going to be all on there. And yes, and I'll be one of the speakers featured there as well. And hopefully in the next month or two, I will be launching my own channel. It's actually up and I do have some content on it. I just haven't been able to do as much, but I'm going to start dedicating some time. It's on YouTube as the 13%, completely spelled out, the 13%. And I'm going to be speaking mostly on, politics and issues that are affecting us as a society, especially from a secular Black point of view. And so that's all the stuff. That's the stuff.
That's all the stuff.
I believe right. So. Well, I got a link tree.
I'll do like I'll put your stuff in the doobly-doo.
Yeah, the doobly-doo.
Yeah,
but
like
yes.
I have Black Nonbelievers and the Freedom from Religion Foundation as like resources just in the description. But So, it's part of my resource page. Anyway, thank you for being here. I'll have you back because, I love you.
Yes, I love you too. And this is fun. Thank you for having me in the first place. I'm truly happy and honored that you asked me. So thank you, Helen.
You didn't miss the whole thing, AJ. Good for you.
Yay! Good job, AJ. AJ is one of our other nonprofit people. Yeah. Love her to pieces.
It is nonprofit week because I had Jimmy Jr. on Tuesday. You're here, and then Richard Gilliver is going to be here Saturday.
Oh, nice. Richard,
we're going to talk about how to picture the real world. So we're going to talk about that.
Yes, Richard is one of my favorite British people. Adjacent to Liverpool,
or he's Welsh.
Yes, right. I know. But they're part of the British Empire, so there you go. Yeah, yes. We love Richard. We love Richard as well. Richard is so. Let me tell you something. If I could get up, if I wasn't attached to stuff, I would show you one. I remember when I had surgery a few years back, and Richard sent me a graphic book of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and also some Star Trek stickers and stamps. He is the sweetest ever in life. Sent it over from the UK over to May, and I was like, "Yay! I love you."
He is a good human. He's one of my favorite people. Like he said, like, I've been fanboying your channel, and I was like, okay.
He's a lovely. I want to say he's a lovely human.
I'm not going to like every time I attempt an accent, it just comes out redneck. So I'm not going to do it.
Right. I just like the way he says lovely. He's lovely.
I know.
I love that. So
I mean, like any man with a British or accent or sorry. Never mind. We were talking about masturbation earlier. Anyway.
Well, we know what Helen's going to be doing after this show.
Yes, I'm gonna eat dinner.
Me too.
All right. So check both Cynthia and I out on the nonprofits. Please like and subscribe. If you would like to be on the show, email me here or recommend somebody. So just email me here. I will be back on Saturday. And I'm also doing a show Monday with my friend Autumn Sword from the Church of Satan. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm not there yet. And Jason Freer will be here Wednesday. And then Graham, our Graham from the ACA will be here on next Thursday.
Oh, the cross examiner. Yes.
Yeah, the cross examiner will be here. So yeah. Also a nonprofit.
Also a nonprofit. And he has a great podcast as well where he breaks down legal things. Oh my goodness, Math Pig, how you doing? I ain't seen you in a month of Sundays. Also, another
Math Pig's been showing up a lot on my channel. It's been very sweet, and he's in the UK, so that's yes. The fact that he's in Scotland.
Which is part of the UK. I know.
Yeah, it is true.
We want you all to get your freedom.
Are they doing a Scottish like separating?
Is that a thing? Like Brexit.
Brexit. Scott word.
Yeah. Well, I know that
Northern Ireland. I'm sorry.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, they're already gone.
You're from over there.
Yeah. I do apologize, my Math Pig. But no, the Scottish have been petitioning for them to be, out of the whole UK British government, British Kingdom for a minute. Ireland finally got their stuff taken care of. So go Ireland. Yeah. My last name is Irish. It is.
I married an Irishman. So
well, there you go.
And German. Yeah, all the white people countries, basically.
Yes. Yes.
I'm all white people.
All white people.
All white people. All right. We're gonna go on that note. If you want to see more white people,
I'm stopping.
All
I'm
the
not going
white people.
Oh, right. It's all in Helen. It's right
Colin
there.
Allen. All
Yeah, it's
right.
all in there.
Good night,
Right there.
everybody.
Good
All right. Bye.
night.
Bye. Well, I will see you on Saturday. 4 p.m. The
Bye.
show's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern because Richard's in the UK. So 4 p.m. Eastern. All right. Bye.